stories come alive right before you drift off to sleep. Or maybe just get lost in wonder. Before we jump into today's journey, let me ask you something. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. We love seeing how far our legends travel. And what's the time over there? Midnight, early morning? Just before bed? Tell us below. We read every single comment. Tonight's story takes us back, why back, to a time before cities, before smartphones, even before farming. We're talking about the real life of cavemen. Not the silly cartoon version, not the club-wielding grunting guys in fur, but the truth, the survival, the danger, the beauty, and the mystery of what it really felt like to be one of the very first humans on Earth. So get cozy, settle in, and prepare to step into the fire-lit shadows of the past. Because once you see what life was really like back then, you'll never look at history the same way again. And hey, if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to check out our other videos after this one. From ancient myths to lost civilizations, we've got a whole world waiting for you to explore. Don't forget to like the video if you're enjoying it so far. Comment below. We love hearing your thoughts and theories. And of course, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a new legend. Alright, ready? Let's travel back to a world untouched by time. This is what it was really like to be a caveman. Hey guys, tonight we're diving into the dirt. Forget loincloths, forget clubs, forget that one Geico commercial. This is what it was really like to be a caveman. And trust me, you probably wouldn't last till breakfast. Before we get too cozy with the fantasy of roasting mammoth over fire and grunting at sunsets, hit that like button if you enjoy these deep dives into the gritty side of history. And drop a comment. Would you survive 24 hours in the Stone Age? Be honest, alright? Dim the lights. Maybe grab a snack, preferably not raw squirrel. And let's jump in. You wake up on the cold, damp floor of a cave. There's no pillow, no mattress, just rock. And the faint smell of wet fur and body odor that's been marinating since the last ice age. Your back hurts. You slept next to 3 other people. One of them snores like a dying bear, and another rolled over and used your thigh as a pillow. And you're already late. Not for work, oh no, for survival. There is no fridge, there is no Starbucks. There's a root you dug up yesterday that you're pretty sure isn't poisonous. And maybe half a rabbit if your cousin Ugh didn't eat it all in the night. You nibble. It tastes like dirt. Because it is. You're not vegan by choice. You're whatever doesn't kill me by necessity. Oh, and you're probably dealing with parasites. Just a casual sprinkle of intestinal worms with your morning grub. Now that you've had your gourmet breakfast of disappointment and dirt, it's time to find real food. You grab a stick. It's not sharpened. It's just a stick. Your best friend got gored last week by a woolly rhino. You still went to eat the rhino though, waste not, want not. And no, you don't track animals like some serene nature documentary. You follow poop, steaming piles of it, which means you're close. Rustling in the bushes, you freeze. Is it a deer, a predator? Your uncle again, pretending to be a tree? Too late. Whatever it was, it's gone. You're hungry, you're angry, you're hangry. Welcome to prehistory. The weather has exactly 2 moods. Too hot to walk barefoot. So cold your toes consider quitting the team. There's no Gore-Tex, no sunscreen. And if it rains, congratulations. Your entire day just became a wet, muddy hellscape. Shelter? You're in a glorified hole with rocks stacked around it. Fire, if you're lucky. If not, you spend your night shivering and pretending not to hear the wolves. Modern you. Ugh, I forgot my jacket. Caveman you. Ugh is dead. Jacket died with him. You live in a group of maybe 20 to 40 people. That's it. Forever. Some of them smell like a wet dog dipped in ash. Some think you stole their rock. Some are probably related to you in ways modern society would side-eye. There are no privacy settings. If you fart, everyone knows. If you cry, everyone hears. If you steal someone's root stash, you'd better run. And don't even think about TikTok. The only thing going viral here is dysentery. But hey, it's not all pain and predator dodging. At night, the tribe gathers. There's storytelling, myths about stars, spirits, and that one time Oog tripped over a stump and claimed it was a god. Right, let's talk about the glamorous subject of cleanliness. You think medieval peasants had it bad? Oh no, sweet summer child. You, dear caveman, have never seen soap. Water? Maybe, if the nearby stream isn't frozen, or full of mammoth poop. To clean yourself, you might rub ashes on your skin. Charcoal.dirt. Yes, dirt. Your skincare routine is scrape it off and hope it heals. Your breath? It could knock out a saber-toothed tiger. Your teeth? Not great. You've chewed bark, bones, and maybe a suspicious mushroom or two. Spoiler, You will not die of old age. You will die of tooth abscess turned skull infection. And yet, somehow, you still think you can flirt with the cute gatherer from the next fire circle. Now let's set the record straight. This idea that men hunted and women just gathered, that's some Flintstones fan fiction. In reality, everyone did what they had to. You think if a wild boar shows up and only the dudes are around, they go, "Oh, sorry, we're the hunters. Deborah, please stay in the cave." No. Deborah grabs a stick. Deborah throws hands. But yes, there was some division of labor, based on survival, not societal expectations. You're stronger, you hunt. You're injured, you forage. You're pregnant, you do whatever you can without dying. And let's be clear, every job was dangerous. You think gathering is easy? Try identifying berries that won't liquefy your intestines. Without Google. So you twisted your ankle. In 2025, that's an ice pack and a Netflix binge. In 15,000 BC, that's possibly a death sentence. You can't walk, you can't run. You can't run, you can't escape the bear. You can't escape the bear? You become bear sushi. There's no Advil, no x-rays, no antibiotics. Someone might chew some moss and wrap it in deer hide and say, "You'll be fine." Spoiler, you won't be fine. Oh, and infections, they don't mess around. A splinter could turn into a full-blown hand amputation. You don't shake it off. You crawl it off while screaming. So yes, modern you crying about stubbing your toe in the kitchen at 2 a.m. Ancient you would slap you with their one good hand. Let's talk childbirth. Buckle up. You're giving birth in a cave on the floor, surrounded by other women who learned midwifery from, guess what? Instinct and trial and error. There's no sterile gloves, no epidurals, no screaming, "Where's the doctor?" There's just pain, blood. Screaming, more pain. The mortality rate, sky high. You'd better hope your baby comes out head first, fast and breathing. Or that you, the mother, don't bleed out before sunset. And if you survive, great. Now raise a child in an environment where hyenas, disease, starvation and gravity are constant threats. Honestly, moms were the real MVPs. On-screen text, respect to prehistoric moms. Drop a for them. Okay, let's shift gears. You're sitting by the fire at night. The stars are terrifyingly clear. There's no light pollution, or like any pollution. And it's deathly quiet except for the occasional, growl. You feel small, insignificant, vulnerable. So what do? You make meaning. You tell stories about sky spirits. You believe the mammoth you killed gave its life willingly. You bury your dead with care, with purpose. You carve symbols into rock. You paint handprints. You chant, you dance. You create the earliest forms of religion. Not because it's organized, but because life is scary and unpredictable and painful, and you need something to hold on to. That's not weakness, that's humanity. Did you speak English? Nope. French? Also number Klingon? Weird question. Still no. But you did have language. Maybe it sounded like grunts, but there were patterns. Emotions, meanings. You didn't say, "Please pass the salted boar." You probably went, "Hruck," while pointing. But guess what? That worked. You told stories, taught lessons, gossiped. And oh yes, cavemen definitely gossiped. "Oh, did you see what Grog did with that burnt fish? Ugh said it was cursed." Yeah, and Daka said his fire never stays lit anymore. Humans have always been messy. There's a moment, just before dawn. You've climbed a hill to watch the sunrise. You're wrapped in a hide. Cold, tired, hungry. But for a second, you feel peace. You see the earth stretching forever. Mist curling over trees. Birds breaking the silence. You don't have words for it, not exactly. But deep down, you understand that you are alive. That you belong to the earth and it to you. That despite the pain and the chaos, this world is beautiful. It hits you. You are the beginning of something, of us. So what's the takeaway? Being a caveman wasn't just clubbing things and hiding from storms. It was raw. It was terrifying. It was real. Let's talk vibes. Prehistoric ones. After a day of near-death experiences, disease and disappointing roots, what do you do to unwind? You make music, not Spotify. Not even a pan flute. Try a bone flute. Yes, a literal hollowed-out bone. Probably from some animal you just finished eating. Efficient and expressive. You drum on rocks. Clap sticks. Someone yells rhythmically. And hey, that's your first jam session. And it's not just noise. It's culture. It's how you connect. Celebrate mourn. Music tells stories when words aren't enough. And let's be honest, you don't have many words. Was it good music? Probably not by modern standards. But if you've ever heard your cousin's garage band at 2 a.m., it's not that different. Now imagine this. You crouch in a smoky cave, torch in one hand, crushed charcoal in the other. You draw a bison, a boar, your handprint, maybe a weird spiral thing you just invented. Why? Because you want to be remembered. Cave art wasn't decoration, it was declaration. Hey, I was here, I saw, I survived. Think of it as the original Instagram, except with fewer filters and more bear risk. And what's wild? We've found handprints that suggest children contributed too, meaning, even 30,000 years ago, kids were like, look what I did. And parents were like, that's great, honey. Now please don't fall into the fire pit. Let's zoom in on the stuff Hollywood doesn't show you. Not the epic hunts, not the dramatic fire making, the in-between. Hours of sharpening stone tools, tending to wounds, digging for bugs, trying to make cordage from sinew and cursing every 2 seconds. It's monotonous, tedious, and weirdly relatable. Modern you. Ugh. Another Monday email. Caveman you. Ugh. Another hour scraping deer hide with a rock. Survival was a full-time job. There were no vacations, no weekends, just daylight, and what you could do with it before the dark came back. Let's say you survive a bear, a blizzard, and bad berries. Great, you still might get killed by other humans, because spoiler alert, early humans were territorial. You find a new valley, great hunting grounds, fresh water? Too bad another tribe already claimed it. You're not just fighting wolves out here. You're fighting each other. War wasn't organized, it was chaotic. A rock to the skull, an ambush at the stream. Maybe a friendly meeting turns into someone throwing a spear. And here's the kicker. No Geneva Convention. If they take your stuff, they take everything. Food, shelter, maybe you. So yeah, humans were the apex predator. But also, the scariest thing you'd meet in the wild was another guy with nothing to lose and a very pointy stick. Ever thought about how isolated you'd be? No phones, no letters, no courier pigeons. Just shouting distance. Want to tell someone you saw a herd of elk near the ridge? You either run and tell them, or build a fire and hope they understand what that specific column of smoke means. Signal fire, ancient version of just dropped a pin, and if your buddy Ugg misinterprets the smoke, he shows up with a spear expecting danger, and you're just trying to invite him to dinner. Ancient miscommunication, the struggle was real. Okay, serious question. Did cavemen laugh? Yes, because we had to. You face death every day. You either cry, scream, or laugh. You're huddled by the fire. Someone farts, it's funny. It always has been. Someone trips and falls face first into a bush. Boom, prehistoric slapstick. Humor was glue. It bonded tribes. It eased tension. It helped people mourn, celebrate, make it through the long, terrifying nights. So yes, you might not have tight 5 minutes of stand-up, but that one guy in your tribe who made weird faces and imitated the mammoth, he was your first comedian. Ever wonder how early humans got obsidian blades in places with no obsidian? They traded. No coins, no Venmo. Just, you give me cool, shiny rock, I give you tasty, dried fish. Trust was everything. Because once you handed over your goods, there were no refunds, no receipts, no complaints department. Trade built early networks. A trail of exchanged objects that archaeologists now use like prehistoric breadcrumbs. So if you think cavemen were just grunting and stabbing things, remember, they also engaged in supply chain logistics. With rocks, eventually someone dies, maybe from injury, illness, or just time. But they're not tossed aside, they're buried, arranged, honored, sometimes with tools, sometimes with flowers. Yes, prehistoric graves with wildflower pollen have been found. Grief is ancient. Love is ancient. You feel it, that ache, that hollowness. And so you build rituals, maybe light fires, tell stories about their bravery, say they became stars or wind, or something bigger. Let's talk about your brain. Yes, your prehistoric, underfed, overstressed brain, sloshing around inside a skull that's been bonked one too many times by low cave ceilings. At night, after a long day of nearly dying and almost starving, you dream. But these aren't cozy Netflix dreams. These are hallucinatory, fever sweat, spirit animal, ancestors whispering your name dreams. And sometimes, they're not dreams, they're mushrooms. Yes, the kind you definitely weren't supposed to eat. Oops. Suddenly that rock has a face. The tree is singing, and the stars, they're telling you secrets. Is this a spiritual awakening or your liver giving up? Hard to say, but for early humans, dreams weren't just nighttime nonsense. They were messages. From the gods, the dead, the world itself. You wake up shaky, sweaty, maybe enlightened. You paint what you saw, and everyone nods like, yep, definitely a spirit bison. Classic. Even without TikTok, even without written language, cavemen had rules. Not written down, but you knew them. Don't hoard food. Don't take someone's mate. Don't pee near the water source. Don't light a fire too close to the sleeping area again, Grog. You break the rules, you're not cancelled. You're exiled, and exile is worse than death. Alone in the wild, no fire, no friends, no backup when the wolves come sniffing. Because being human has never been a solo sport. You want to live, you cooperate, you pull your weight, you don't eat more than you gather. And if you get lucky with a hunt, you share. Even with that one guy who smells like wet dog and never does the dishes. You think love is complicated now? Try catching feelings in a tribe of 23 people, 10 of whom are blood relatives, 6 of whom are already paired off, and the rest. Let's just say, hygiene is not on their resume. Still, you see someone by the fire. They laugh, toss their hair. They just cracked open a snail with one smooth motion. And suddenly, your heart, or what's left of it after a diet of roots and regret, does a little flutter. You don't swipe, you don't DM. You maybe grunt awkwardly, offer them a half-burned beetle, and hope for the best. And hey, maybe that's enough. Because prehistoric romance isn't about flowers and candlelight. It's about surviving together, holding the torch while they sharpen the spear, sharing your last piece of dried lizard meat, and not making fun of their attempt at cave art, even though it definitely looks like a potato with legs. Think modern parenting is stressful. Try it in the Paleolithic. You're raising a child in a world where everything is a choking hazard, including air. They crawl toward the fire. You drag them back. They eat a beetle. You scream. They try to wrestle a goose. You let them. Honestly, they've got to learn somehow. No diapers, no strollers, no baby shark. You carry them strapped to your chest, wrapped in hide, while foraging, fending off snakes, and swatting away flies the size of small dogs. And when they cry at night, you can't exactly let them self-soothe, because noise touched attention, hides predators. So you rock them, hum something wordless, whisper promises they don't understand, but you hope the universe hears anyway. Every tribe had that one person, the one who ran back into the storm to pull someone out, the one who faced the saber-tooth with nothing but a torch and a scream, the one who told stories so vivid you saw the mammoth charging behind their eyes. They were the early heroes, the legends, the ones whispered about in the dark when morale was low and food was lower. You didn't carve their face into stone, but you told your children their name, and they told theirs. And maybe, just maybe, that story still echoes in your blood. Because every family line starts with someone who didn't give up. Someone who chose courage over safety. Fire over fear. Eventually you get bored of just not dying. You want to make life better. So one day you put meat over fire and accidentally invent barbecue. Your entire tribe loses its mind. Food tastes better cooked. Why did no one tell us? The first seasoning? Probably crushed herbs or tree bark or, let's be real, ash from the last fire. And now you're not just eating for survival. You're feasting together, around the fire, laughing, chewing, telling stories with your mouth full. Was it gourmet? No. But was it satisfying in your soul? Yes. Because for the first time, food meant more than fuel. It meant togetherness. Time passes, seasons change, people come and go. And one day, your bones are placed gently into the earth. Your story ends, but your legacy doesn't. Because 40,000 years later, some archaeologist brushes dirt off a piece of charcoal shaped like a flute. And for a second, you live again. In their mind, in this story, in us. Midnight. The cave is pitch black. Your fire's down to embers. The shadows twitch. You jolt awake. Not because of a noise, but because there's no noise. The forest went quiet. And that, out here, means something is definitely watching. You reach for your spear, except, oops. You lent it to Darg, who used it to skewer a beetle the size of his fist and never returned it. Classic Darg, you listen, frozen, your breath shallow, heart racing, you are prey now. The darkness isn't just an absence of light. It's a living thing. It presses against your skin, creeps into your chest. You survive till morning somehow, but something walked past the cave last night. You know that. You just don't know what. Someone in the tribe is sick. They're coughing up blood, feverish. Their skin burns to the touch. You don't have a doctor. You don't have a name for what's happening. But you try. You chew bitter herbs, crush flowers, wrap their limbs in cool moss. You chant, not because you know it works, but because doing something feels better than doing nothing. Sometimes they recover, sometimes they don't. And when they don't, you bury them near the roots of the old tree, where the sun still touches the ground. You leave an offering, a necklace made from boar tusk and stringy grass, a few pebbles, a carved figurine, the beginning of medicine and was hope. And that's still true. There's no weather app, no radar, no 3-day warning from the overly cheerful meteorologist on the morning news. So when the skies turn black and the wind howls like a dying god, you just run. You try to grab what you can. Firestone, food, your child, if you have one. But storms don't care if you're ready. Flash floods rip through valleys. Lightning ignites entire forests. And if you live near a volcano, That's it, game over. Start a new tribe. Your whole world can change in a matter of minutes. You don't just live with nature, you live under it. And in those moments, all you can do is crouch in the mud, scream over the wind, and wait to see if the sky decides you still belong here. In a world where most people die before 35, anyone with grey in their hair is a living legend. The elder of your tribe? They remember things no one else does. Where the rivers changed, what plants cured fevers, which mushrooms made people see things. They're slower now. Their knees creak like old bark. But when they speak, everyone listens. Because memory is survival, and that elder, they are memory. You sit by them after the hunt. They tell you of a time when the sky cracked open with fire, or the winter that lasted 3 moons longer than it should have. They're not just telling stories. They're handing you the keys to staying alive. Respect wasn't a title. It was earned, with scars and silence and time. Rain, in modern life, is a mild inconvenience. You forgot your umbrella. Boo-hoo. Rain, for a caveman, is a force of biblical proportions. It soaks your firewood, fills your cave with sludge, turns your hunting trails into mud traps that suck your ankles down and laugh while you scream. You can't dry your clothes, because you don't have clothes. You have skins, and they now smell like a wet dog who rolled in something unholy. Rain floods your food stash, makes animals flee deeper into the forest. You're cold, you're wet, you're miserable, and you just wait, because there's nothing else you can do. No tarp, no raincoat, just the patience to survive long enough for the sun to come back and pretend like everything's fine again. There's someone in your tribe who makes everyone laugh. Not because they're the strongest, not because they're wise, but because they know that sometimes the only way to fight death is to mock it. They give nicknames to mammoths. They pretend to duel a tree. They mimic your tribe's most dramatic elder, and everyone howls. It's not just entertainment, it's medicine. Laughter keeps fear at bay, reminds you that you're still alive. You laugh when your hunt fails, when your hair gets burned off by a fire flare, when someone trips into the river again. Cavemen weren't stoic statues of grit and gloom. They were messy, snarky, ridiculous humans, just like you, who knew that if you can laugh, you can still fight. 3 days without real food. The roots ran out, the meat spoiled, the river fish stopped biting. Your stomach twists like a snake. You see shapes in the trees, hear whispers in the wind that sound suspiciously like cheeseburger. Your legs shake. Your thoughts crawl through molasses. This is where people snap. Eat dirt, chew bark. Bite leather, just to feel something in their teeth. The hunger rewires your brain. Your dreams become food. Your friends start to look delicious. You don't act on it, but you think about it, and that's terrifying. Okay, you made it through another day without dying. Now it's time for something stranger. Tonight, there's a ritual. Someone in the tribe found a cave deep in the cliffside. Walls blackened from smoke, floor slick with ancient bones. And now it's your sacred place. Everyone's gathered. Torches flicker. The fire crackles like it knows a secret. No one speaks. Someone paints a red handprint on your chest. Another smears ash on your cheek. You don't know why. No one explains. But your heartbeat shifts. You feel it. Maybe it's for a successful hunt. Maybe it's for a death. Maybe just to remember you're alive. You drum on hollow logs. You dance in the dust. You howl like the wolves you fear. And for a brief moment, you aren't a fragile human in a savage world. You are part of something bigger. A ritual, a myth, a story being told not with words, but with bone, blood, and firelight. Pain is just another language. You lie on a stone slab while someone jabs sharpened bone into your skin. Over and over and over. Each prick draws blood. Each drop becomes part of the design. Why are you doing this? Because your brother died in a flood, and this mark is for him. Because you killed a boar by yourself, and you want the world to remember. Because you're scared of being forgotten. No ink, no antiseptic. Just charcoal, pain, and the will to wear your history on your skin. You're bleeding, it's swelling, it hurts. But afterward, when you stand and see that black spiral burned into your shoulder, you feel permanent. A walking memory. A story on legs, you grunt. They grunt. Someone raises a stick. Someone ducks cool. That means threat. Over time, you invent a system. A snort means bad meat. A bark means snake. A high-pitched wheeze. That's your cave smells like feet. And then someone makes a sound that doesn't just mean something immediate. It refers to something that isn't here. That's not communication anymore. That's language. You say moon, even when the sky is empty. You say death, even when no one's dying. You say love, even though you don't have a word for it yet. Suddenly, you're not just surviving, you're thinking in symbols. And just like that, the future opens up. Later that night, as flames dance low and the coals hiss, you drift into sleep. But it's not peaceful. You dream of chasing deer with hands that are claws. You dream of your mother, but she's turned into a tree. You dream of a cave so deep, it hums. Dreams were terrifying and sacred. They weren't just dreams, they were messages. You tell your tribe the next morning. Someone claps you on the back and says you've seen the ancestors. Another says it means you need to fast for 3 days. There's no Freud, no therapist. Just stories and symbols and the nagging feeling that your dreams know something you don't. And maybe they do. She doesn't hunt. She doesn't gather. She paints. Every day she ventures into the darkest cave where no one else dares go. She grinds berries, charcoal, ochre. She spits into the paste. She dips her fingers and transforms the stone. Deer with too many legs, handprints that float, herds in motion, glowing in the flickering torchlight. Why does she do it? Because someone has to remember. Because the wall is the first page of a history book no one can read. Yet. Because stories are survival too. You see your likeness on the wall. Not exact, but true. You are a part of something now. A myth, a memory, a mark that says, we were here. You didn't plan it. You just noticed that when they laugh, you want to laugh too. When they return from the river, soaked and smiling, your chest feels weird. It's not love, because that word doesn't exist. It's not dating, because there are no apps. It's something else. You bring them the best roots. You guard their spot by the fire. You risk your life to drive off a leopard that got way too close. Is it romance, survival? Some mix of both. Whatever it is, it matters. And when they braid a bone into your hair one morning, you say nothing. But inside, you're exploding. Even 50,000 years ago, hearts were idiots. There are no soft ways to say this. Children died, a lot. Sometimes it was illness, sometimes exposure. Sometimes a fall or a bite, or simply the cold indifference of the wild. You dig a shallow grave with your hands, place a carved stone on their chest, and sit there. For hours, days, you don't scream. You don't sob, you just stop. And when you finally move again, you're never the same. You mark the cave wall with a tiny handprint, one that never grew bigger. And that night, when the wind howls, you listen, hoping, just for a second, you'll hear their giggle again. You don't, but you keep going, because grief is ancient, and so is strength. You're gathering roots near the edge of the marsh when the sky starts to growl. Not politely, not like a few raindrops in a breeze kind of growl. No, this is full cosmic rage mode. You look up, thick black clouds, like bruises smeared across the heavens. Lightning splits the sky with a crack that makes you flinch so hard you nearly eat your own knuckles. This isn't weather, this is judgment. Rain slams the ground sideways. The earth turns to soup beneath your feet. You sprint for shelter, but where? Under that tree. Boom. That tree's now charcoal. Back in the cave, everyone's huddled, wide-eyed, silent. Even the kids don't whine, which frankly is terrifying in itself. The storm rages for hours, maybe days, you lose track. And somewhere in the dark, a voice says, "The sky is angry because we forgot the song." That's the beginning of belief. You don't have science. You don't know what causes thunder or disease, or why that one guy's foot turned purple and fell off. So you make sense the only way you can. Story. You say the stars are the eyes of the dead, that fireflies are lost spirits, that the wind is the breath of an old god who forgot he was alive, and suddenly, life has shape. You stop doing certain things during full moons. You place stones in a circle before a hunt. You whisper the names of your dead into rivers so the water will carry them to the next world. Is any of it true? Well, define truth. Because if it gives you strength, if it brings comfort in a place as unforgiving as this, that's as close to truth as you'll ever get. Let's take a detour, because one day, this actually happened. You saw it. A mammoth, not from far away. Not in some heroic hunting scenario. No, you were just collecting berries, and then you heard it. A low rumble, like the earth itself was clearing its throat. And there it was, bigger than your hut, tusks like living ivory, covered in matted fur and dried mud. Its breath steamed in the cold, its eyes small, curious, slightly annoyed. You froze, the mammoth did not. It moved, slowly, casually, like it had zero fear of you, because it didn't. Why would it? You're basically a fleshy squirrel. You didn't run. You oozed away, like a leaf on the wind. You never got close to one again. But that night, you told the story. And in your telling, you stood tall. You made eye contact, you threw a spear. By the time the kids heard it, you had killed the mammoth with your bare hands. This is how legends start, from near death and big egos. You're not alone out here. One day, while scouting for firewood, you see smoke, not yours. Different color, different smell. You sneak closer and spot them. Another band, 20, maybe 30. They're like you, but not. Different paint, different tools. One of them is wearing teeth around their neck. Not animal teeth, human. You freeze. These are not friendly neighbors who drop off casseroles. They see you. You run fast. The tribe locks down. No fires, no noise. Every night someone takes watch. It passes, they leave. But the lesson sticks. Not all humans were friends. Some were competitors. Some were threats. Some wanted your water, your food, or your cave. Cooperation made you human. But conflict shaped your future. No elections, no campaigns, no vote for Og. He's tall and shouts well. Leadership back then was earned, not claimed. The one who could find water in drought. The one who made the sharpest blades. The one who stood their ground when the wolves came. That person, they became the voice. Not the boss, not a king. More like the axis the group spun around. People listened when they spoke. Not out of fear, but respect. Survival instinct. You remember when you used to roll your eyes at leadership training videos? Yeah, back then, leadership was real and deadly if you got it wrong. If your decisions led the group into starvation or battle, there were no second chances. You either led well or you got replaced. Permanently. Okay, let's not sugarcoat it. You almost died again. This time it wasn't weather or beasts or starvation. It was you. You got reckless, climbed a rock face looking for bird eggs, slipped, landed weird, heard a pop. Pain shoots up your leg like lightning in reverse. You scream, loud enough to spook 2 vultures off a carcass. And now you're stuck. It takes the tribe a full day to find you, another to carry you back. And then you just wait. No hospitals, no casts, just a splint, a fire, and a whole lot of hope. Weeks pass, you heal. Barely. But from then on, you walk with a limp. And somehow that limp becomes a badge. You're the one who faced death and hobbled back with a snarky attitude. One night, deep in the bone-freezing cold of midwinter, something changes. You're hunched over the fire, watching the sparks curl into the black ceiling of the cave. Everyone's quiet, too quiet, until someone starts to hum. Not a song. Not really, just a sound, low and throaty, like a heartbeat made of breath. Another person joins, then another. It's raw. Unplanned, weirdly beautiful. Soon you're all swaying. There's rhythm now. Someone's tapping bones on rock. Someone's stomping. And without meaning to, you start chanting nonsense that feels like truth. You don't have a word for this, but you've just invented music. And for the first time, the cold doesn't feel like death. It feels like ceremony. A few days later, just before a big hunt, the youngest member of the tribe, still covered in berry stains and bad ideas, starts mimicking a deer. Everyone laughs. But then someone else joins in. They act out the chase, the spear throw, the kill. Suddenly, it's not a joke. It's a plan, a story in motion. You watch, stunned, as the tribe reenacts a hunt that hasn't happened yet. They're moving together, signaling with their bodies, predicting movements. They're practicing. It's not just imagination. It's strategy. Before you know it, you're all doing it. Moving in sync like a prehistoric flash mob. And yeah, the next day's hunt, it works. That goofy little dance. Welcome to the birth of theatre. No one talks about it until it hits your closest friend. The cough starts small, then deeper, then wetter, then wrong. You can see the fear in their eyes. Not just fear of dying, fear of being left. Because you're all packed tight in the same cave. And if one of you is infected, yeah, you keep your distance. You stop sharing food. You wipe your tools without even knowing why. Just a gut feeling. But you don't abandon them. You bring hot water. You burn herbs. You stay near, not too near, and hum the night song under your breath. They make it barely. And when they finally speak again, their first word isn't thank you. It's fire, because somehow they know it saved them. And suddenly you know, the tribe isn't just survival anymore. It's medicine. It's empathy. It's a proto-hospital in a stone box. Modern healthcare started here, with a cough, a fire, and not leaving someone behind. One quiet afternoon, you find them crouched at the back wall. The kid again, the one with the sharp eyes and twitchy fingers. They're smearing ochre on stone, lines, marks, shapes. It looks like a herd of bison, but they're running. And in front, a figure with a spear. You blink. They've drawn the hunt, the one from last moon. But they weren't even there. Someone told them the story, and they remembered. This is big. It's not just doodling. It's memory, made visible. It's the first attempt to say we were here. We lived. We mattered. You helped mix more pigment. Because you get it now. This isn't art. It's legacy. One day, a figure appears at the edge of the valley. Not from your tribe. Not from any you've seen. They walk strange, talk strange, and their eyes, not dark like yours. Blue, the tribe debates. Welcome them. Kill them? Ignore them? You step forward. They offer you a shell. Carved, smooth, useless. You offer dried meat. Trade. It's awkward, clumsy, but real. And from that exchange comes something new. Curiosity. Their tools are different. Their myths stranger. But somehow, it fits. You don't become best friends overnight. But that night, you all sit by the fire and share food. And for a flicker of a moment, the world feels bigger than your cave. It wasn't the first death, but it was the first time you felt it in your bones. The old woman, the one who used to hum to the trees, who always knew where the mushrooms were. The good ones, not the brain-melting kind. She just didn't wake up, and for a moment, no one moves. Then someone begins gathering stones. You build a cairn, not to hide her, but to mark her. You place flowers, shells, one of her tools, and when you step back, someone whispers, "She will return in the roots." It's not religion. Not yet, but it's reverence. Grief turned into ritual, and for the first time, death doesn't feel like an end. It feels like memory. Years pass, the tools sharpen, the dances grow more complex. The songs have verses now. Children grow into hunters, hunters into storytellers. And you, now grey-haired and slow, sit by the fire, watching them laugh, argue, create. Sometimes you close your eyes and see the mammoth again, feel the storm, hear the hum in the cave, and you wonder, did we really change? Or did we just get louder? Hey, you made it back. You're no longer barefoot in the mud or dodging saber-toothed cats. It starts with thunder, but not the kind you know. It's wrong, too sharp, too loud. The sky flashes, and then a streak of fire. The entire forest shakes like it's alive and angry. You drop your tools, everyone does, even the bravest among you. The one who once punched a wolf hides. When the smoke clears, you find it. A crater. Something still hot inside, smooth metallic. Not from here, you don't have a word for it, so you call it skyrock. You don't know what it is, but you feel it matters. And just like that, the first whispers of the cosmos enter your cave. Not bad for a bunch of barefoot fire jugglers, huh? One night, after chewing the wrong mushrooms, again, you dream. Not a normal dream. This one feels different. You're flying above the trees, over mountains, then over oceans you've never seen. You see animals with long necks, shiny things in the distance, and strange lights in the sky that move in perfect circles. You wake up sweating. The tribe laughs. We told you not to eat the purple ones, but you can't shake it. The dream meant something. And over time, you find yourself looking at the moon differently. Not just a light, a destination. Welcome to the birth of wonder. And possibly the world's first sci-fi. Months pass, maybe seasons. And then, one day, a figure appears at the edge of the trees. It's the blue-eyed stranger, but they're not alone. There are more of them now. Different clothes, new tools, a kind of pouch that sloshes when they walk, something sweet-smelling inside. Honey wine, fermented, you try it. Bad idea. You spend the rest of the day giggling like a cave toddler and trying to hug a tree you think is your cousin. But after the hangover wears off, something becomes clear. These people have more than tools. They have rituals, languages, trade networks. They know of rivers you've never seen, skies that don't freeze, beasts you've never imagined, and you're starting to realize you're not the only story. It happens during a hunt. You were supposed to split the catch equally. You always do. But one guy, the new one, with the narrow eyes and clever hands, hides a chunk of meat in a pouch. You see it, you say nothing. But the next night, a kid goes hungry. The tribe notices. There's a tension now, subtle, coiled like a snake in grass. And for the first time, you understand. With intelligence comes strategy. With strategy, manipulation. With manipulation, politics. And now, the tribe has its first unspoken rule. Watch your back, even from your own. You've just invented the grey area. Congratulations. You're now officially human. It starts with pointing, then grunts, then mimicry. But after a while, some of the sounds stick. Muk means fire, drum means danger. Drumuk means dangerous fire, aka lava, which nearly killed 2 of your best hunters last moon. You keep combining sounds, making them faster, sharper, more nuanced. One day you find yourself telling a story with nothing but words, and everyone gets it. No dancing, no drawing, just speech. Now you're teaching the kids, passing down knowledge, and suddenly you've broken the limits of memory. You've created language, which by the way is the most powerful invention in human history. Yes, even more than Wi-Fi. You're older now. You've got a bad knee, a louder snore, and a deep love for sleeping next to the wall where the wind doesn't hit your spine like a hammer. But tonight, Someone else is tending the fire. A girl, maybe 12 summers old, wide-eyed, curious, brave. You watch her carefully place new branches, shield the flame from wind. She's humming the night song under her breath. You smile, she's ready. And for the first time, you realize it was never about you surviving. It was about making sure someone else could. That's what legacy is. One morning, you step outside. The air is crisp, the valley is golden. Birds chatter like gossiping elders. You sit on a rock and stare at the horizon. And it hits you. You made it. You lived. You loved. You fought. You created. You adapted. You carved meaning into chaos. From sticks and stones, you built community, memory, even beauty. And no one will remember your name, but they will remember what you passed on. Fire, story, love, curiosity, the tools that carried your DNA and your soul into the future. So, next time you scroll past an article about early man and see some scruffy cartoon grunting at rocks, remember, that was you. That is you. Everything you are, your humor, your stress, your love of memes and microwave pizza, came from people who battled saber-toothed cats and made philosophy out of fire. Their blood runs in your veins. Their fears echo in your dreams. Their brilliance built your world, so honor them. The wind changes, not the temperature. Something else. The tribe has grown. New faces, new alliances. A fire that never goes out. But now something strange is happening. People are being named. It starts small. The girl who runs fastest is called Swift. The man who never forgets anything, remember her? The one who laughs in his sleep? Moon Snore. It seems silly, but names start sticking. They carry meaning. And suddenly people aren't just faces around a fire. They're stories with legs. It's identity. It's accountability. It's pride. You've never heard your own name before, until one day someone calls you Ashkeeper. You freeze. Because for the first time in your life, you know who you are. A child is bored, like truly bored. No chores, no threats, no urgent need to not be eaten. And so they do the unthinkable. They make up rules. One rock is the hunter, one is the beast. A circle drawn in dirt becomes safe. You watch as they leap, dodge, and argue about invisible lines. Another child joins, then more. And just like that, the tribe is yelling, laughing, competing. No survival, no food. Just play, you smile. And you realize this is joy, unattached, free. This is creativity for its own sake. And in that moment, you understand something sacred. Not everything that matters has to matter. Welcome to the birth of games. And maybe, just maybe, the beginning of sport. The first time you saw it, it looked like a fight. Two hunters, teeth bared, fists clenched, circling each other. But then, one drops their weapon, kneels, touches forehead to the earth. The other does the same. No words, just action. When they rise, they grip wrists, tight. And it's over, not forgiven. Not forgotten, but bound. A few days later, they're hunting side by side again. And from that moment, others begin copying the gesture. It becomes a ritual, a silent contract. You don't have a word for it, but one day, a child points and says, "Together." And suddenly, you do. You've just witnessed the birth of trust. Not instinctive, not familial, but chosen. The foundation of every future alliance, kingdom, treaty, and friendship. All from two angry hunters who knew how to kneel. It happens every few years. The berries don't ripen, the rivers shrink, the prey vanish like smoke. It's not anyone's fault, but blame doesn't need facts. It just needs fear. Whispers begin. The gods are angry. They danced wrong. It's the new ones. They brought bad luck. Tension rises. You feel it, crackling like dry wood under pressure. One night, the fire nearly goes out. No one moves to fix it, until a child, not even old enough to hunt, throws in a branch. Then another, then more. You step forward. And instead of blame, you speak the night song. Quiet, simple, old. One by one, the tribe joins in. No accusations, no division, just shared breath. In that moment, hunger doesn't vanish, but something worse does, despair. You've just discovered resilience, not from strength, but from unity. There's a place no one goes, across the river, behind the dead trees, under the crooked hill. The stories say it's haunted, which of course means one thing. You're definitely going there. You sneak out with two others, carry nothing but a spear and nerves. When you reach it, silence. Inside the cave, everything is cold, untouched, except for one thing. Handprints, dozens, maybe hundreds, pressed into the walls in ochre and ash. Not yours. Not your tribe's older. You run your fingers over one. It's small, delicate. Whoever they were like you, they were you. And as you kneel, staring at those ancient imprints, you feel it. time folding. The past isn't gone, it's whispering. And now, you're listening. He spoke like thunder, walked with swagger, claimed he could talk to the sky. Some believed him, others didn't. He promised endless food, better weather, protection from death. All he asked was loyalty, obedience, worship. You watched, wary as lines were drawn. Those who followed him, and those who didn't. It was the first time you saw power used like a tool. He grew louder, bolder, until one day a fire broke out. And he ran, left everyone behind. You helped put the flames out, bare hands, lungs choking. And when the smoke cleared, no one followed him again. The tribe chose truth, chose each other. You had no gods, only stories. And now you had one more, the lesson of the voice that lied. It's been many moons, many stories, many losses. You sit now in a circle, not just family, but all tribes. Some with feathers, some with scars. One speaks in rhythm. Another wears colors like the sun. You trade. You laugh. You argue over whose deer was bigger. At night, you dream. Not of mammoths or blood or screams, but of fire, walking. Yes, walking. It strides over rivers and mountains, casting shadows that look like people. People who wear iron on their skin. People who build towers. People who stare at glowing stones and speak without moving their lips. People who forget. You jolt awake. The coals are still warm beside you. The stars silent as ever, but something lingers in your chest. Like you just saw the future. Or maybe, just maybe, it saw you first. Your eyes open with the dawn. Your back aches, your mouth's dry. There's something in your hair and you're 90% sure it's beetle guts. So just another Tuesday, but you're alive. Your stomach grumbles, a new hunt begins. And guess what? You'll do it all again. Because this is what being human is. It's not glorious. It's not clean. It's not noble. It's teeth and calluses and cold mornings and warm fires and stories told in whispers that echo across centuries. It's survival with a soul. Now pause. Look around your real room. Your screen. Your modern bed maybe. You've got indoor plumbing, refrigerators, a glass rectangle that can access all human knowledge and, let's be honest, cat videos. But guess what? You're not that different. You still seek warmth, still crave connection. You still name things to make sense of them, still tell stories to survive the chaos. You're still afraid of the dark, just a different kind. You still gather in circles. We just call them group chats now. Your ancestors, they didn't disappear. They became you. They are the reason you can laugh, cry, cook, forgive, swipe right, they made you. Let's be brutally honest for a second. You would not have lasted long as a caveman. Sorry. You'd cry the first time you saw a spider the size of your hand. You'd trade your spear for a granola bar and 5 minutes of Wi-Fi. You'd walk into a bear den thinking, surely it's friendly. But here's the twist. That's okay, because you've inherited the best of them. Their instincts, their persistence, their desperate, primal hope that tomorrow might be better. Even if tomorrow means frostbite, wolves, and someone in your tribe definitely farting and blaming the wind spirits. That hope, that's still in you. So when your job sucks, or your relationships crack, or your phone dies at 1%, just remember, your ancestors stared down extinction, made fire with sticks, and invented storytelling, all while barefoot, sleep-deprived, and mostly naked. You've got this. So, here we are. You've walked a day in a caveman's feet, blisters, dirt and all. You've hunted, gathered, grieved, played. Maybe you even peed in the woods, no judgment. And sure, it wasn't glamorous, but it was alive. And isn't that what you're craving? Not more stuff, not more followers, but more aliveness. The kind where every sound matters, every face means something, every breath is borrowed from the cold air like it's the last one you'll get. Modern life, it's a miracle, but it's easy to forget how rich life can feel when you're just trying to survive it. So maybe, next time you light a candle, or sit around a fire pit, or stare into the orange of a sunset, pause, and remember the ones who stared into the real fire and didn't look away. They weren't perfect, but they were present. And if they could speak to you now, they wouldn't tell you to go back. They'd just say, don't waste it. If you made it this far, first of all, you're tougher than most. Comment Firekeeper below if you felt something from this journey. Would you survive a week in the Paleolithic? Be honest, tell us in the comments. And if you want more vivid, weird, and wild stories from the corners of human history, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what's next. It's soft at first, just a hum. Someone near the fire is using a hollowed bone and blowing across the top. It sounds like wind through a canyon. Another claps a rhythm with 2 flat stones. You join in, a simple beat, a thud, a pause, a thud, a pause. Soon the others are adding their voices, high and low, scratchy and smooth. There's no melody, not really, No lyrics, just sound. But something strange happens. You feel connected. Like every voice is stitching you together into something larger. You don't know it, but this is the beginning of music. It doesn't pay bills or kill prey. It doesn't keep you warm. But somehow, it feeds your soul. One evening you look up and notice the moon is missing. Not gone, just a bite taken out of it. You panic a little. Is it sick? Dying? You call the others. Some pray. Some throw rocks at the sky. One guy howls. You don't know it, but you're witnessing a lunar eclipse. You'll never forget it. And when your children ask, years later, why does the moon sometimes disappear? You'll have an answer. Is it true? No. But it's good, and that matters. You've just invented mythology, a way to wrap fear in a story, so the world feels a little less random, a little more explainable. This is your brain trying to keep its grip on reality with a bedtime story. And that, dear friend, is the first step toward religion. It starts with a line of rocks, not much, just a border between where your tribe sleeps and where the wild begins. But one day, a neighboring tribe crosses it, by accident, maybe. Tensions rise. There's yelling, posturing, a thrown stick, then a compromise. You split the river. You each take a side. And just like that, the concept of territory is born. The ours and theirs. Soon, you're not just defending food, you're defending ideas. The idea of home, of identity, of control. And yes, this is where war comes from, but also civics, diplomacy maps. It's messy, but it's a step forward. Someone in your tribe has survived past 40. They don't hunt anymore, can't keep up. Their skin's leathery. They smell like fermented roots, but they remember everything, where the winter food hides. Which plants burn your mouth, how to deliver a baby breech. They become the first archive, a walking library. And when they die, people cry for days, not just because they're gone, but because so much knowledge is gone with them. So you carve their symbol into the cave wall, and the next child is named after them. Not because you're sentimental, but because remembering matters. A child asks if there are monsters beyond the valley. You nod. Of course there are. The truth, you don't know, but the story will keep them close, keep them safe. And somewhere deep inside, you realize stories don't have to be true to be useful. That, right there, is the root of fiction. Cautionary tales, parables, campfire ghost stories, not lies. Not exactly, just protective illusions. Because sometimes fear keeps people alive, and wonder keeps them moving. You watch someone in the tribe push sharp bone into skin, over and over, dipping it into ash. It's not art, it's ritual, a mark for a first kill, a lost child, a vision had under moonlight. It hurts, but the pain means something. You decide to get one too, a spiral on your shoulder. You don't explain it, and you don't have to. The body is now a canvas. The mark says, I was here, I mattered. One day, distant drumming echoes across the valley, louder than anything you've heard. But it's not drumming, it's hooves. Hundreds. A new tribe emerges from the horizon, riding atop strange beasts with long legs and eyes like coins. Horses. You freeze. They carry sticks that throw stones faster than a hawk. They wear fur dyed with color you've never seen. They have words that sound like music and knives sharper than bone. Everything about them says, the world is bigger than you knew. And it's moving fast. But instead of fighting, you trade. Beads, ideas, seeds. And when they leave, they're singing your songs. You realize culture isn't static. It spreads, centuries pass, millennia even. Your fire becomes a furnace. Your tools become cities. Your cave becomes a spaceship. And your paintings, they're now entire galaxies of pixels. Yet somehow at the same heart beats inside. The same hunger to connect, to create, to find meaning in noise. You still draw on walls. We just call them social media. You still stare at the stars. Only now, with telescopes. You still fear the dark. Still hope for light. So, what was it really like to be a caveman? Brutal. Yes, boring. Sometimes beautiful. Undeniably. It was dirty hands, and raw meat, and firelight dancing on faces full of wonder. It was figuring it out, one sunrise at a time. Someone in your tribe dies. Maybe it's the old one with stories. Maybe it's a child. Maybe it's your closest companion. The one who always laughed when food was scarce. The body grows cold fast, but you don't just leave them for the animals. You dig. Not far. Just enough to cover them from the sun and scavengers. You lay stones on top. Maybe a tooth, maybe a favorite tool. You stand there longer than you expect to. Something shifts in your chest. It's not just survival anymore. It's grief. You've invented mourning. And soon, every burial will carry a prayer. Or a song. Or a symbol on a rock. It's the first hint that we might believe in something more. Not just life, but what comes after. At night, you see them. The dead. Walking through your dreams. Smiling. moving their hands like they're trying to tell you something. Sometimes it's comforting, sometimes it's terrifying, but always it feels real. You wake up sweating, and just like that, your brain, that jelly software stuffed into a bony skull, decides maybe dreams mean something. Maybe they're visions, or warnings, or glimpses of another world. And so a new role is born. The shaman, the dream speaker, the bone rattler, the bridge between what is and what might be. We don't know what dreams really are, but you've decided they're too powerful to ignore. Someone in the group slips in mammoth dung, flat on their back, covered. You laugh, so does everyone else. Even the dung-covered victim smirks. It's harmless, unexpected, just enough discomfort to jolt your brain. And just like that, humor is born. Why does it matter? Because that laugh breaks tension. It rebuilds bonds. It turns a bad day into a story you'll tell for weeks. Humor becomes survival glue. And it never leaves us, not in memes, not in stand-up, not in that weird noise your uncle makes at dinner. It's the same instinct that made you laugh at poop 40,000 years ago. One day you get mad. The bone knife breaks again, and in a fit of frustration, you grab a chunk of flint, hit it with another rock, and it shatters into something sharp, really sharp, sharper than anything you've made before. You don't know it, but you've just invented knapping, stone tool making. The new knife slices clean through hide. You feel invincible. And like all inventors before and after you think, this could be better. So you improve it, wrap it with leather, attach it to a stick. Boom! A spear. You're now innovating, not copying nature, but surpassing it. Your hands aren't just tools, they're a legacy. A forest burns on the horizon. Lightning? Maybe. But it draws you like a beacon, not to destroy it, but to understand it. The first cavemen didn't fear fire forever. They chased it, tamed it, harnessed it, it warmed your caves, cooked your meat, kept beasts at bay, transformed how you lived. Eventually, you'd sit beside it and tell stories. And every flame since then, from birthday candles to city lights, is descended from that primal curiosity. You're not just fire users, you're fire makers. That's a big deal. They pick up a rock. They mimic your movements, clumsy, eager, wide-eyed. They fail, twice, then again. But the fourth time, the rock breaks just right. They cheer, and something in you wells up. Pride, maybe? Hope? Definitely. That's the moment you realize this isn't just about surviving today. It's about preparing them for tomorrow. You teach them. And suddenly your tribe is more than just a group. It's a culture. Knowledge passed from one hand to another. Mistakes included. The days are hard. The nights are harder. But sometimes, when the fire's low and your belly is full enough, you think, what if there was more? What if you didn't have to roam? What if food grew nearby? What if you could shape the land instead of fearing it? These aren't daydreams. They're the seeds of civilization, of planting, staying, building. You don't act on them. Not yet. But one day your descendants will, and they'll remember the spark that started it. In a cave, by a fire, with questions no animal had ever asked before. So here we are, you, sitting wherever you are, maybe on a couch, maybe in a dorm, maybe hiding from responsibility in a bathroom stall, watching a video about cavemen, but you're not that different from them. You're still asking questions, still trying to understand where you come from, still dreaming of where we're going. You wear sneakers instead of fur, sure, but deep down, you're still chasing fire, still laughing at poop jokes, still wondering if the stars are watching you back. That primal spark, it's still in your DNA, and it always will be. The kill was not yours. You know it. Your tribe knows it. But when the chief grunts, who brought it down? You raise your hand, bold, shameless. You even smear a little blood on your chest for effect. And just like that, you invent lying. Congratulations. Not exactly, because lying, it spreads like smoke through dry brush. But also, it teaches that words have power. That truth can be bent. That stories can be shaped, not just told. And if you're clever enough, the right story can protect you, even elevate you, or get you clubbed in the head. It's a risky game, but it's the first spark of what we now call politics. You're starving again. The ground is frozen. Nothing is moving, nothing alive anyway. Then you spot it. A strange mushroom, waxy pink, possibly glowing. You sniff it, you chew it, you hallucinate for 3 days and wake up naked in a tree. The tribe now calls you Sky Voice. From now on, you're the designated mushroom tester. Not because you're wise, but because nobody else is willing to roll those fungal dice. You've unknowingly kick-started both. Medicine and drug culture, well done. It's quiet, too quiet. So you take some charcoal, smear it on the cave wall and sketch out the last hunt. The bison, the spear, the blood, the victory. Others gather around. They grunt in recognition. Someone adds a mammoth. A child draws a handprint beside it. Boom, cave art. Why does this matter? Because for the first time, you're preserving memory outside your head, on stone. Not just storytelling, but the beginning of history. Everything, from TikToks to textbooks, traces back to this very moment. You, a wall, and the need to be remembered. At the edge of camp, you spot it. A wolf, not growling, not attacking, just watching. You toss it a scrap. It doesn't leave. Over weeks, it starts walking with the tribe, sleeping near the fire, barking when strangers approach. Soon you're not afraid of the forest anymore, because the forest fears him. He becomes family. And just like that, you didn't adopt a pet. You started domesticating a species. Congratulations, you've just invented the dog. Still the only friend that will love you even if you smell like death and forgot its birthday. It starts with a cough. Then comes the sweat, the chills, the rattling wheeze. There's no doctor, no antibiotics, no thermometer. Just a half-chewed root someone claims is magic. Spoiler, it's not. You lie on the dirt feverish, hoping your body wins the fight. Most didn't. For most of human history, disease was not just a part of life. It was the ending. But here's the brutal truth. That suffering, it forced us to adapt, to develop remedies, to care for the weak. It built resilience. So next time you complain about waiting 15 minutes at urgent care, remember your ancestors nearly died from coughing near a puddle. It's night. You're sleeping, dreaming of cooked meat and mammoth dung pranks. When the screaming starts, another tribe has attacked. Why? Maybe territory, maybe revenge, maybe they just want your flint tools and women. Everything becomes chaos. The fire is kicked out. Someone is taken. You barely survive. The next day, the survivors gather, angry, bleeding, vowing never again, so you train. You build traps. You watch the horizon. You've now invented fear of outsiders, defense tactics, warfare. Dark, yes, but it's part of the human story. Even when we lived in dirt and bone, we were already figuring out how to protect what's ours. You find a shell, pretty, useless, but it catches the sun just right. Someone else wants it. They offer dried berries. Deal. You've just invented trade. Later, someone offers 3 shells for your bear-tooth necklace. Now things get interesting. Soon it's not about need, it's about value symbols. Currency, eventually this leads to coin, credit, crypto, and somehow, people paying $800 for digital cartoon monkeys. But it all started here. One shell, one shiny temptation. Humans, we're suckers for sparkle. You don't know words like chromosome or genetic drift, but your choices, who you love, who you protect, who you don't, are quietly shaping the human race. Tall survives longer in the snow? Hello, Scandinavia. Dark skin thrives near the equator. Welcome to the cradle of civilization. Strong jawlines, unclear but definitely sexy. Every step you take, every weird toe you pass on, gets carried into the future. And now here we are, wearing pants, ordering oat milk, still carrying your caveman quirks in our bones. After the blood, the fire, the hunger, the laughter, you sit in the quiet, on a cliff, staring at the sky. The world is impossibly big. The stars fade. The sun peeks over the trees. You don't have words for beautiful, but you feel it anyway. So, remember when you pooped way too close to the communal sleeping spot? Yeah, people noticed. A few days later, someone moved their sleeping mat a little farther away from you. No one said anything, but they didn't need to. Congratulations. You just felt shame for the first time. And trust me, that's a milestone. Why? Because shame is more than just embarrassment. It's emotional duct tape, holding our fragile little society together. Without it, you'd be licking mammoth bones in public and screaming your opinions at the moon. Wait, that still happens. Twitter, basically. But that nagging feeling in your gut when you screw up, that's how we got things like manners, clothing, and not chewing loudly like a wildebeest. You're sitting around the fire, picking gunk out of your toenails, when someone starts slapping 2 stones together. Another claps, someone hums. Soon your tribe is jamming. It's not Mozart, it's not even Nickelback, but it moves you, deep in the chest, like your bones are vibrating. You don't know it yet, but you've just discovered music. It becomes celebration, grief, warning, seduction, and eventually, capitalism. You'll never hear a drumbeat the same way again. Comment below, what's your caveman anthem? Mine's probably something between a war chant and early Shakira. You're snacking on berries, spitting the seeds out. You wander off. Months later, where you spat. Tiny green shoots. You don't think much of it. Until next year, more berries pop up in that same spot. Your brain starts ticking. Wait a second. What if, instead of chasing food all over creation, you made food come to you? Boom, agriculture is born. Except it's not boom. It's slow, painful. You fail a lot. But it leads to the biggest shift in human history, settling down. Now you don't just survive, you build. You have homes, storage, surplus, and with that, suddenly you have neighbors, which is great, until one of them starts letting their goat poop in your yam patch. Congratulations, you've now invented property disputes, but also community. Instead of 10 people in a forest, there's now 200 in a clearing. You make rules, you build fences, you assign chores. Someone invents a job called leader. Someone else invents complaining about the leader. Civilization is crawling out of the mud, and you're right at the beginning. Still smells like goat though. You're tired of explaining why your brother gets first pick of the mammoth ribs. So you say, he's chosen by the sky spirits. People blink, they nod. And just like that, you've invented mythology. Soon there are gods for rivers, gods for rain, gods for why someone's baby looks suspiciously like the guy from 3 caves over. You've built belief, and belief builds temples. Rituals power structures. Humans need stories. But more importantly, we need meaning, even if it's made up. Especially when it's made up. You caught someone stealing dried meat. Old you might have just clubbed them and taken your stuff back. But new you talk to the tribe. You all decide. From now on, if someone steals, they have to clean everyone's poop pit for a week. Congrats. You just invented law. It's messy, sometimes unfair, sometimes weaponized. But it's better than clubbing each other over goat legs every time. This is the beginning of society's greatest illusion. Justice. And its most enduring problem. Who gets to decide what's fair? Still working on that one. You wake up sweating. In your dream, a bear turned into your father, handed you a flaming bird, and whispered, "Beware the wet moon." It doesn't make sense, but it feels important. You tell the tribe, someone gasps. They say they had a similar dream. Boom, you've invented spirituality. Dreams become messages. Night becomes mystery. Death becomes not the end, but somewhere else. Even now, we chase those same questions. What happens when we die? Is someone watching? Why do flaming birds make me feel anxious? These questions shaped every religion, every ritual, all starting with one caveman's weird REM cycle. You're at a river, you bend down, you see your face, and it hits you. That's me. But also, who is that? You touch your cheek. You watch the reflection touch theirs, that strange loop of awareness. That's not just consciousness. That's the beginning of identity. It's what makes you more than just a hungry animal with a stick. You remember yourself. You build a story of who you are. You look for purpose. You wonder why you feel sad when someone leaves, and why your heart races when you hear singing. You're not just surviving anymore. You're becoming human. The fire's dying down. Your tribe is quiet, bellies full, eyes half closed. This time not to eat, not to warm your feet, but because you're remembering something from the hunt, something terrifying and glorious. You pick up a sharp rock, drag it across a flat piece of bark. Not writing, that hasn't been invented yet, but symbol scratches, marks that mean something. You draw the antlers, the leap, the blood. Someone leans over your shoulder, nods. They remember too, and just like that, you've invented storytelling. Not out loud, not yet, but the urge to preserve, to leave something behind, is there. You don't know it, but 30,000 years later, your crude scratchings will be in a museum behind bulletproof glass. Kids in sneakers will stare at it and whisper, "Was that the first meme?" Not every conversation is deep. Sometimes you're just poking at embers with someone and you say, "Fire's hot tonight," and they grunt. This is the first small talk. The earliest version of crazy weather, huh? And you know what? It works. Because bonding isn't always about profound truths. Sometimes it's about just being nearby, saying nothing useful, and not killing each other. This is how tribes became families. It's how awkward dads survived. And it's how humans learn to be together, even when there's nothing to say. One morning, the hunting party packs up. They're moving on, following the herds, but you don't. You look around, at the little circle of rocks, at the sun-marked tree, at the sleeping child you helped raise. Not yours, but it doesn't matter anymore. You stay, that's new. Before this, you always left. You followed the food, the weather. But now, for the first time, you choose place over instinct. And that decision, that's the seed of home. Not a structure, not yet, but the idea that some spots aren't just dirt, they're ours. Death isn't new. You've seen it, felt it, smelled it. But now, instead of just walking away, you stop. You sit by the body. You cry. Others join you. You pile stones. You hum. You leave feathers. You whisper something only the dead would understand. That's the birth of ritual mourning. It means you believe, or hope, that the person isn't entirely gone, that there's a thread still connecting them to the world of the breathing. It's beautiful, and it's the start of something huge: empathy, grief, memory. And also, graveyards, funerals, tombstones, haunted houses, horror movies, Halloween. Thanks, caveman. You're deep in a cave, not for safety, but for silence. You crush berries, burn charcoal, mix in spit and fat. You dip your fingers in paint. A bison, a hunter. Your hand, it's not practical. It won't bring food, but it feels necessary. You don't have a word for art yet, or expression, but that's what this is. You're leaving a piece of yourself where others will find it, centuries from now. This is the start of culture, and the beginning of an ancient question. Does this mean anything? Spoiler, yeah, it does. Language is a mess. Mostly grunts, gestures, pointing, but today, something new, a sound that isn't a grunt. It's deliberate. It refers to a very specific thing. Let's say, arug. And everyone else now knows. That means snake. You've just created a shared symbol. Language doesn't arrive all at once. It evolves like fungus, slow, sticky, everywhere. But in that moment, you've stepped out of silence and into complex communication. Next step, sarcasm, and that's when everything really goes downhill. You find a stone, but instead of admiring it, you smash it. You chip away the edges, shape it, sharpen it. Suddenly, it's not just a rock, it's a tool. You didn't wait for nature to hand you something useful. You forced it into utility. That's innovation. Soon you're shaping spears, axes, scrapers, then arrowheads, traps, snares. From there, wheels, pulleys, iPhones, toasted sandwich makers. Every invention you know, from the wheel to wireless earbuds, traces back to one caveman thinking, what if I break this until it's better? Cavemen didn't swipe right, but one day you look at someone across the fire and feel something. Not hunger, not survival instinct, but choice. You choose them, and they choose you back. You raise a child together, or maybe 3, you fight. You make up. You share food even when you're starving. This isn't just instinct. It's the start of pair bonding. It's messy, unpredictable. Sometimes it ends badly, but sometimes it makes surviving feel like more than survival. You find a tribe that has bright shells. You have fire-hardened spears. You offer one. They offer 2 shells. Deal trade is born, not just of goods, but of trust. Soon you're traveling to barter. You learn new sounds, new stories. You trade more than tools. You trade culture. You leave camp for what was supposed to be a quick mushroom run. Except, surprise, the forest doesn't care about your plans. Every tree looks the same. The sun's gone. It's damp. It's cold. You're hungry. And that growl, not your stomach. You are officially lost. No Google Maps. No little blue dot. Just instinct and anxiety. And that weird habit of talking to yourself for comfort. Okay. Retrace your steps. Past the rock that looks like a butt. Left at the tree with the bird poop face. This is the birth of orientation, spatial awareness, pathfinding, and eventually the GPS that tells you to turn left while you're already in the wrong lane. It starts with a stick, then 2 sticks, then a massive fight over where those sticks go. Congratulations, you're building a home, not just any cave or lean-to, a place that's yours, familiar, cozy even, a roof that keeps the rain out, a floor you sweep with a bunch of reeds because you're now allergic to dirt, apparently. And then someone suggests putting stones in a circle around the fire so no one trips into it again. Boom, architecture. Okay, primitive architecture. But hey, that's how you get from twig huts to TikTok videos about open-plan kitchens. Let's be honest. The first tools? Kind of tragic. Rocks, sticks, teeth sometimes, but you're learning. You sharpen a stone, attach it to a branch, lash it with tendon. It's crude, but it works. You just built an axe, and that changes everything. Suddenly you can chop, carve, dig, skin, and, let's not forget, look extremely intimidating. You're now a caveman with gear. One small step for hands. One giant leap for hitting stuff effectively. At first, you just throw bones at it to keep it from eating your face. But over time, the snarling beast gets chill. It starts following you, then sleeping near your fire. Then growling when strangers approach. You don't realize it yet, but you've just made the first dog. You accidentally started a 40,000-year friendship. And the best part, they still don't clean up their poop. So nothing's changed. You crush some berries, mix in some spit, smear it on the cave wall. Then you dip your fingers into ochre, ash, blood. Yeah, blood. And start drawing. A deer, a handprint. Maybe a weird squiggly thing that might be a map. Or just boredom. You're not decorating, you're documenting. Telling stories for eyes that don't exist yet. This is art. prehistoric, messy, symbolic art, long before galleries or NFTs. And guess what? That little stick figure bison might outlast your entire bloodline. Yes, fire was already a thing. But now you're making it, not just stealing it from lightning-struck trees. You're grinding sticks, blowing on embers, swearing in ancient grunts. And when it finally sparks, light, heat, life, you feel like a god. Everything changes. You can cook meat, scare predators, forge tools, hold story nights without everyone freezing their nipples off. Fire doesn't just keep you alive, it keeps you together. In fact, the modern version of this ritual is, Netflix around the TV with snacks. That night, under a deer hide, with a belly full of roasted root, you fall asleep, and you dream of flying, of falling, of your dead uncle dancing with a mammoth. It makes no sense, but it feels real. The next day, you try to explain it. No one gets it. One person says it was a spirit. Another says you ate a cursed beetle. But deep down, you start wondering, what is real? That's the moment your brain quietly invents philosophy. Socrates? Plato? Nah, just some smelly hunter wondering why he keeps dreaming about fish with human arms. You meet another tribe. Tension crackles. Weapons are drawn. You both size each other up. You could fight, but someone offers food, a gesture, a slow lowering of spears. And just like that, diplomacy. You trade, talk, even laugh. Sure, sometimes tribes do go to war, and sometimes for dumb reasons. Looking at you, staring at my wife too long guy. But today, you built a bridge instead of a battlefield, and no one had to get their skull caved in. Progress. This one hits different. It's not just death, it's grief. You don't eat. You barely move. You replay moments, words, smiles, like you're trying to hold on to them in your mind's hand. You carve their mark into a tree. You wear something of theirs. And when someone else comes to comfort you, you let them. You cry together. You howl. You mourn. That's humanity. Not just feeling, but sharing feeling. No fire, no spear, no cave art can compare to that. The sun rises. You ache, stink, and have approximately 2 fleas in your loincloth. But you survived. Another day in a world that didn't want you to. So you finally got some food. Maybe you snared a rabbit. Maybe stumbled upon a patch of wild berries, sun-warmed and hidden in the underbrush. Your stomach growls like some small beast trapped inside you, demanding a feast. But you're not alone out here in the wild. There's your tribe, your people. Hungry faces, tired eyes, they see what you've brought. And what do? You share. You tear the rabbit into strips with your hands, pass pieces of meat to the people around you. It's dry and gamey, but to you all, it might as well be roasted duck. There's no cranberry sauce, no wine, no awkward family politics. But this feels a lot like Thanksgiving anyway. Everyone gets a taste. Everyone gets to live another day, just a little stronger. Why do you share? Generosity? Maybe. But there's more to it. It's survival strategy. Sharing builds more than full bellies. It builds bonds. Trust alliances. When times are hard, the ones you fed today might save your life tomorrow. It's the start of something big. Call it proto-economics.trade. Reciprocity cooperation. Imagine if your Wi-Fi worked that way today. Hey, can I have your password? Sure, but next time, bring a mammoth leg and a good story. That's early economics. Exchange, give and take, because alone, you dinner for something larger, faster, and way less friendly. Together, though, you're a force of nature. Together, you build the future. Rain slams against your shelter like a fist from the sky. The trees bend and groan in the wind. You can hear them creak like old bones. Your shelter shakes with every gust, the roof of woven branches and animal hide threatening to fly away. You huddle close to the fire, wrapped in wet, smelly animal skins. Nature's version of a soggy blanket. There's no weather forecast, no warning text, no emergency alert buzzing in your pocket, just the roar of nature in full fury. Lightning splits the sky in two. Thunder shakes the ground. You clutch your bone knife. Not that it would help much. And you wonder, is this how it ends? But it doesn't. You survive. You endure. You adapt. The storm doesn't destroy you. It teaches you harshly, unforgivingly, but you learn. Next time, you'll build a stronger roof, a smarter shelter, dig drainage, reinforce with stone. Nature is your most brutal teacher, and the lessons are unforgettable. Ever notice how children today pretend to be animals? Growling like tigers, flapping arms like wings, crawling on all fours. Now picture yourself doing that. Not for laughs, not for likes, but for survival. You watch birds take off and land, memorizing their patterns. You study the stealth of a panther, its silent movement through the brush. You practice crawling like a snake, belly to earth, to avoid detection. You mimic animal sounds, warning cries, calls. You try throwing stones like claws, ambushing like a predator. This isn't play, it's training. You're learning to become part of the environment. To hide, to move, to kill, to survive. No camuguer, no goggles. Just instinct and imitation. Primitive, but effective. And best of all, it works. Suddenly, a sharp pain lances through your jaw. A toothache, deep, pulsing. You can't eat. You can barely think. You try everything. Chewing bitter roots, rubbing your gums with crushed herbs, praying to whatever spirits might be listening. But the pain just grows. No dentist, no numbing gel. Just agony. And finally, you can't take it anymore. You reach for a sharpened stone. You brace, you pull. The scream echoes through the trees. Blood, pain, and grit mix in your mouth. Welcome to prehistoric dentistry. Not for the faint of heart. Makes you grateful for dental insurance, doesn't it? Raw meat is out, fire-cooked meat is in. You wrap the rabbit in leaves, place it carefully by the glowing embers. Not too close. You've learned your lesson about turning dinner into charcoal. The smell rises, smoky, rich, heavenly. You bite in. The meat is warm, tender, safe. Finally, you lie back. The fire flickers low. Above you, a sky full of stars. Endless, ancient, you stare and ask the question that echoes across all time. Why? Why are we here? What comes next? There are no answers. Just the wondering, the hoping, the dreaming. That's what makes you human. So could you survive? Could you take the hunger, the cold, the aching teeth, the terrifying storms? Or would you be yelling into the sky, begging Siri to find the nearest cave? Drop your survival score in the comments. From Alpha Hunter to Oops, I just ate poison ivy. And hey, if this journey through our wild past stirred something in you, share it. Pass it on, keep the fire alive. Remember, every time you complain about slow Wi-Fi, somewhere deep inside, your ancestors are face-palming. Until next time, stay curious, stay wild, and maybe go thank a tree. They've seen a lot.